So, I entitled it a short story, what we are doing about soil protection in Switzerland, not just focusing on Terranimo, but I think it's worth to give you maybe a bigger picture of what's happening in our small country, that you are not much bigger than Switzerland, and we are a flexible nation. I have to introduce some things that are special in Switzerland. You have the question here, why is soil protection quite long an issue in our country? The first thing is we have just about a third of our area that is productive. We have a lot of mountains, a lot of lakes. We have a very low level of national self-sufficiency in food, 55%. I think that's one of the lowest worldwide, so we are already very depending on food of other countries. We still have a very strong population growth, about 1% each year. That means 80,000 people. We have about 8 million now, and each year we got 80,000 more. We have a high level of land take due to construction. It's half a farm each day we lose because of construction. And we have much precipitation, maybe even more than Denmark, I think, in some regions. So we have often wet soils and very sensitive soils. So I think these are the main reasons why we are thinking about soil protection since quite some time. The arable area is here, and the really good soils are only just around 9% of the area is the good arable land. So, and if there is something scarce and something you do not have plenty, then you're beginning to take care of something. If we compare this situation, you can see that the arable land per person, hectares per person, in Switzerland is very low, and we try to keep it constant. What is happening worldwide and in the European Union, you can see here. The European Union still have quite plenty of land, but it's decreasing quite fast. So, I already mentioned we are very depending on other countries, and for us this is also a threat for the future. So we do not want to lose self-sufficiency in Switzerland. It began with this Soil Protection Ordinance, the VBBO, on the 1st July of 1998. There we have tunnels to save land. And we have two important thresholds on construction sites. It is forbidden to do soil work below 6 centibars, 60 kilopascal, and it's forbidden to drive on soil with heavy construction machinery when it's below 10 centibars or below 100 kilopascal. So the standard machine is this one, and sometimes you see it with this kind of supporting mats, so that the stresses can be reduced you have on the top of the soil. And the advantage is you do not have to clean the machinery in the evening. So they're quite accepted, this mats. Then we have soil recultivation since many years. As I said, we try to save good soils, and if we finished our tunnels in this open cut process, we refill everything and then we can restore good arable soil. It's a typical picture for soil recultivation in Switzerland. You can see subsoil and topsoil and some drainage installations. There is also a lot of work going on cleaning up landfills and restoring soil there, as it is also for gravel mines. And that may be interesting for you. Since 2001 we have a voluntary industry agreement. So the gravel industry accepted an agreement, a soil protection agreement, and then they can use this agreement and they are responsible on their own to make recultivations on old gravel mines. I think this is a good idea to have voluntary agreements between government and private industry, because everybody should have some responsibility. Now I'm coming to agriculture. Since 2013, for me this was revolutionary. We had a federal guidance document on soil protection in agriculture, mainly on erosion and compaction. So you see, it took quite a while. Since 1980 we had an ordinance, and it took time until 2013 to have a federal guidance on this topic. So maybe you Danish people are a bit faster than Switzerland. But with a democratic process, it takes very long. But it's good, is it there? On erosion, the main tool is the GIS system that's telling you the erosion risk, and you should not exceed 2 tons of soil loss per hectare and year. And there are studies going on if we can survey that by drones flying over the fields. And my school, this is this university I'm working here near Bern. We're trying to find algorithms we can directly estimate the soil loss when flying with drones. But it's a difficult issue. You shouldn't talk to a farmer and saying, I'm flying over your field with a drone just to have a look how much erosion you have. He will tell you, you want a lot of control, I will shoot down this. So you should be careful when communicating about such things. I mentioned that Terranimo is the standard tool to evaluate soil compaction risk in Switzerland. We have the same 3 colors, green, yellow, red, but in Switzerland we have a certain depth, and that's 35 centimeters. That's the reference soil depth. Everything is decided in this depth. So that's the upper layer of the subsoil. And we created a very light version. We call it whole slow Terranimo light, where you can see very quickly in which range you are. So you just have to put in a wheel load and inflation pressure, and to put in soil properties as clay content and soil water suction, and you get some risk estimation. Green in Switzerland is the area up to 50% of soil strength, and red is at 125% of soil strength. So we have a very high compaction risk when we are really in the red zone. Now, I started to tell you something about controlling That's a difficult task. Now we try to do it in another manner in Switzerland, so we started some grant programs. In Switzerland, maybe you know, each canton, each region can decide itself. So each canton can decide how to handle this federal guidance I mentioned. Because I have typical feedback from practitioners here: information is good, talking responsibility is good, mandatory record keeping and bureaucracy, no. So that's what you hear everywhere. So we try to pull and not to push. We try to raise awareness, initiate change, instead of monitoring and punishment. And of course, this goes through financial benefits, that's clear. I have to mention that to this date, no fine has ever been imposed, but also no voluntary branch agreement with agriculture has been established. So we are still at the beginning. I tell you now something about our grant program in the canton of Bern. It's the most important agricultural region. That's also where I'm living in. You get some additional payments for a maximum of 6 years if you follow some criteria. If you have machinery with maximum of 5 tons of axle load, you do not even need to calculate something with Terranimo. It's telling, okay, your machinery is no risk for your soils. But if you go with heavier machinery, you have to prove with Terranimo that you have a maximum of 1.2 bar soil stress at 20 centimeter depth. As I said, that's a decision of the canton. In addition to this federal thresholds, and if you want these payments, if you want to be a member of this grant program, you have to prove, you calculate and you send in, and somebody will control, and then you will have some additional payments. And now we have seen with all these Terranimo calculations, to fulfill this criterion, we have approximately 5 tons of reload. That is the maximum to fulfill this. With the best tires, the low inflation pressure, you're landing in this region of a limit of 5 tons for this grant program. And I find it very interesting. There recently was a study in Germany, and they have been asking 177 farmers, what do you think? What's the maximum wheel load we can use under wet conditions and under dry conditions? And it's the same result. So I think that's really amazing. And so we see farmers, they know as a mean. Not every individual, but as a whole group, the farmers know exactly what's happening. So maybe we should just ask farmers instead of doing science, I don't know. I give you some technical solutions, as I am a member of the agricultural engineering group at our school. I like a lot everything with our technical solutions, because I think we cannot go back. You have to go on, but to find new solutions. So this guy, he had a too heavy slurry tanker, and so what did he do? He added some additional wheels to support this hose-type slurry spreader behind, and then he added a CTIS system, a central tire inflation system, and then he reached a maximum wheel load of 5 tons, and he could go down to 0.7 bars of inflation pressure. Like this, he was able to work in this grant program Because also, if you are a contractor, if you want to be part of this grant program, if you have farmers who want you to work on their field, and these farmers, they say, but I'm in this grant program, then as a contractor, you have to fulfill this criteria. So you have to think about your machinery as a contractor too, not only as a farmer. There is another contractor saying there is no intelligent machine on the market, I just will invent a completely new machine. And he's now building the second one. This is the first machine he has been building. It's a self-propelled seed drill, 6 meters wide. It's also working very good in the hilly region of Switzerland and has much more performance than standard drilling machinery in Switzerland. The maximum wheel load is 3.6 tons and he can drive with 0.5 bar inflation pressure. I do not know if I have enough time to give a short video.
I think it's almost
Okay, then I will continue. We have some other solutions by another company in Switzerland. We have a limit of 20 tons for this tandem axles. So now what he did, he did an axle with 8 wheels. So we have a maximum of 2.5 tons on one wheel. And you can, of course, you can go down with the inflation pressure, and you have quite a good situation also for grass silage and hay harvest. Now we ask the farmers, what do you think about our grant program? How do you rate the soil stress limits we set in the program? And you see the farmers seem to be quite satisfied. So we had 80% of these farmers in the grant program that thought, yes, these limits have been suitable. Another question was, what steps should we take to further promote soil protection? A lot of farmers said, we need vehicle labeling. We want to know, is this machinery good for soil or not? So maybe green and red machinery, or something like you have maybe on your fridge or something, energy labels. You have soil stress labels on machinery. Some said we need site-specific maximum wheel loads that have to be determined for each region. And only on the third place, that was a bit, that was a point I didn't like too much, because I'm such a fan of Terranimo, but it was only on third place. Only 92 farmers said we need computer-assisted tools. And but the fourth point, we need machines fitted with soil compaction risk sensors and real-time display systems. And I think we have to go in this direction. The farmer should not have more work. Everything should be integrated. The machinery, we need self-optimizing machinery. The farmer does not want to think and to calculate, what happens now? He wants that the machine is telling directly when he's sitting and driving what's going on. And that the machinery is adapting. Of course, in my opinion, in 10 years, central tire inflation system should be normal as a catalysator or a diesel particulate filter. We also have been discussing these things, but the CTIS, it just should become normal. Thanks.